Hello everybody, and welcome back to another EPI video. In today's video, I will be releasing my first ever 2024 House election prediction. This race, I should say all these races, are extremely tight, and I think we're all very excited to see who wins. But first, let's just get right into the prediction. So, this is obviously a very tight race. There's only a few true toss-ups. There's always one that surprises you, and wow, you're like, wow, in the 538 forecast, this candidate had a 3% chance of winning. I'm just giving an example of Washington's third when Marie Perez won last time, and it's like, you never expected that, and it happened. And there's always going to be those, and I'm very unlikely that I'm going to be able to predict those. However, let's just get right into it. So we're going to be using this map. I promise I don't even know which party I'm going to predict. It's just based off my thoughts on each individual district. And for more competitive races, we are going to look at 538's forecast just to see the polling data that they have in their forecast as well as their forecast. And that's not going to be my prediction, but it is going to be an assistant. So let's dive right into it. So let's go. Alabama has nothing. Alaska. Alaska is an interesting race just because of the fact that we saw the primary for all of it. Mary Peltola is the representative. And we saw it with her Republican opponents, and she cleared 50%. And I know Alaska is a very red state. I mean, it is definitely red. Like, Trump won it by 10 points, so likely to do so around the same margin this time around. And you can see that here. But she won by 10. She crushed Sarah Palin. And I think it's going to be a lot closer. I think it's going to narrow up a lot. But she proved something in the primary, that she is liked by probably a lot of independents as well as some Republicans, to the point where this is I'm going to put it in tilt Democrat, but she has proved a lot, and she is a very, very resilient candidate. Arizona. So we'll use the 538 forecast for this by going to the first district first. First of all, I think this is a broadly good forecast. It puts Republicans and Democrats in a toss-up position, and it's just well maintained, I think. And looking at what we are looking at here, which is Arizona's first congressional district, let's see the race here, right on 538, and here it is. So they have it. David Schweikert, he's the incumbent. He won in 2022 by underfunded opponent by just, as we can see here, by just a point. And Biden won it by 1.5. And so it's interesting. We have liberal polls, I guess you could say. Not necessarily liberal polling, but definitely polling that is backed by Democrats, like the House Majority PAC, DCCC, and they have Shaw +1 or tied, right? Polling average, he's up 3.5. The same thing was predicted. Their forecast, he's winning, and it is the broadly left trending just because of the suburbs, but because it's Trump's best polling swing state, and because he's the incumbent, and just because their own polling isn't looking too great, I'm going to tilt it into his column. The 6th congressional district, Juan Ciscomani, he won by 1.5. It's a Biden 0.1 district. This one seems a bit more right trending, and even if you look in the 538 forecast, which we can see, it definitely shows something I'd say is definitely a better environment for him, and it's something that he wants to have this time. And it's really good news for him if it's actually not on the top 50 races, and we have to find it ourselves. Oh no, but it is here. Okay. So he has, as you can see, in his own poll, he's up 11. That's expected. But even in a Democratic poll, he's only down 1. And it could vote for Trump. He's seen as a more moderate incumbent. District's broadly right trending. I'm going to tilt it in his column, but a more confident tilt than the first congressional district. Arkansas has nothing, but California has some seats. We're not going to look at 538 forecast for all of them, but Juan Duarte, he won by just a 0.5 point in 2020 against Adam Gray, but it's a Biden +11 district. I do think California will trend to the right a couple points, and even in that district. The problem is that going to be enough for him to survive? Unlikely. At this point, it's slightly, if you say Democrats are winning boom by more than 2, it's more like a tilt Democratic seat. The 22nd, David Valadao, he's a good incumbent. He won by 3. It's a Biden +13 district. Same thing. It'll swing by enough. And he did win by more than Duarte. He won by 3. But at the same time, it's probably just close enough to be a lean Democrat seat. Just because, again, that margin, that's a hard margin to beat. Mike Garcia is different, though. I know it's a Biden +12 district, but he won by 6.5. and he's been so resilient that there must be some special connection with the voters of his district that we just cannot understand. To where I think it's going to be an insanely tight race against George Whitesides, but I think until he's proven to lose, I'm going to have to put it in his tilt column. And then, of course, we also have the 41st district, which, it's Trump +1. Kent Calvert's a bad incumbent. He won by 4.5. Who knows? The margin could be a little better for Trump, which is why I think he's going to win it. But otherwise, it's not looking so great for him. Michelle Steele, Derek Tran, that's her opponent. It's a Biden +6 district. She won by 5. I think it will likely shift to the right a couple points. And then also she's a good incumbent to the point where she should be fine. It's 538's most competitive race. But, I think she shouldn't have any problems, fundamental problems. So there's California. Colorado also has some races. I guess just one, because the third will likely go to the Republicans now that Lauren Boebert's not running. So it's the 8th congressional district here. Yadira Caravio, she won by under a point in 2022. And, she wasn't expected to win. We thought she had a shot, but it's a Biden +4.5 district. It could probably have around the same margin, and she's an incumbent this time. And because Colorado is just getting bluer, it's definitely much more likely that she will win in the tilt column than won't, I would have to say. Connecticut has nothing, or Delaware, nor Florida, nor Georgia, nor Hawaii, nor Idaho. Illinois might, but I don't think so. Yeah, it shouldn't. And then Indiana doesn't, right? But Iowa, of course, has 2. So the first is overrated in competitiveness. Trump won it by 3. He'll probably win it by more. Miller Meeks, she won it by almost 7. And, that's a good amount, and especially with Trump increasing his margin, it's likely to be a lean 2 to 5 point state. I'd even say likely 5 points. This is not all that competitive in my opinion. Zach Nunn won by it's a 0.3 Trump district, and it's a 0.7 Zach Nunn district. The good thing for him is this time he's the incumbent, and it'll likely shift right just based off those factors. I think, and also you can look at the 538 forecast, which is always interesting to see, and just based off those factors, I do think that he is slightly favored in this race, and you can see here, it shows it too. Very close race, but it shows he has a slight edge. And you can say, oh, well, we have these polls, but this is her internal, okay? And it has her up 4 against Zach Nunn. That's interesting. This polling average still he's up by a bit, and expert ratings are even. The full forecast gives him a slight edge. That's what I'd seem to give him. As we head into it, just because of the trends of the district and just incumbency factors and all that stuff, and polling. Okay, and now Kansas, nothing it shouldn't have. Kentucky, no. Louisiana, no. They did redistrict it to gain them as a seat. Maine will have one. Okay, it's the 2nd district. So Jared Golden, great incumbent, won by 6 in a district. Trump won by 6, and Austin Therold's his opponent. It's looking like a really tight race. 538. 538 is interesting. It has him. Okay, yes, yeah. So 538 has him slightly down. I think we can see here. Maine's 2nd district. Here it is. Okay, so 538 has it super close, like literally in toss-up position, but he's slightly down. Polling, that doesn't look great that he's down 3 from Pan Atlantic Research. And also just the fundamentals even predict him losing. It's really close, but by half a point, they say he's going down. And, this is interesting because I think Trump will likely win by a little bit more than he did last time. Jared Golden's just such a good incumbent. He was away at the DNC when it was happening, and he was campaigning. He has such a strong connection. It's just like a Mike Garcia. It's just a strong connection type thing where even despite trends in the district, I would expect him to barely hold on, despite him not being thought to win. Maryland likely have nothing, not Massachusetts. Michigan has 2, if not 3. Okay, they're saying the 10th is lean, which I'll just touch on it. I'm just going to keep it there. Just because Trump won by 1, he could win by more. Again, because it's just, if Michigan's at all competitive and Biden won it by 3, then they're likely mostly shifting right. So that's why I say that. He won it by a half point, and he'll be an incumbent this time. He's against the same opponent. It's better to put it in tilt just to be safe, but yes. Okay, so let's talk about the 7th and 8th. We'll start with the 7th. Alyssa Slotkin's obviously running for Senate, so she's retiring. It's a Biden plus half a point, and if you look at this part of it, it's right trending. She's not the incumbent. You can see even in 538 when they bring Michigan's 7th district into the forecast, it's really tight, but they give the Republican an edge, Barrett. And it seems that way. He's definitely winning in his internals, which isn't a huge deal. But at the same time, you can see even fundamentals favor him a bit. Their forecast favors him a bit. And it just would make sense given the trends that he is very, very, very narrowly favored to flip it. Dan Kildee is not running. He was very liked. I think Trump could win the district, but it's still, in my opinion, slightly more likely just because he had such a strong connection. And I know, again, he's not running, but that Kristen McDonald-Rivet will likely beat Paul Judge. Paul Judge has lost a lot. He doesn't really know how to win. I think he's lost 2 or 3 times. And just based off that, Paul Judge not being great, I'm going to have to tilt it to the Democrats column there. All right. Now, Minnesota doesn't have anything, nor does Mississippi. Missouri, no. Montana, Nebraska will have one. It's the 2nd congressional district. So Don Bacon won by almost 3. He's a good incumbent. The problem is it's a Biden plus 6 district. Harris might even win it by a little more, just based off polling. And the problem for Don Bacon is he was expected to win by like 9 in some cases. And when you have that, I would expect it to shift enough to the point where it is tilting toward Tony Vargas. I would definitely expect that. And I think it's even shown broadly in 538's forecast, as you can see here, where if you look at the race for Nebraska's 3rd district, or 2nd, I mean, he is slightly, or not even slightly, I mean, it is close, but 66% chance he's going down to his opponent. And then Nevada won't have any. New Hampshire, probably not. New Jersey will have one, though. Oh, no, they rated it as, that's interesting. So it's a Biden plus 4 district. Thomas Kean Jr. is going to come be won by almost 3. New Jersey, just based off polling, could shift a little bit to the right. That area, who knows to what extent. But he's a good enough incumbent, I think he'll hold on. Though, yeah, I think he'll hold on. But to be safe, I'll put it in tilt. New Mexico is interesting. They don't have it. They say the 2nd's just going tilt to him. He won by under a point, Gabriel Vasquez, in a race he wasn't expected to win. It's Biden plus 6. It could shift to the right, but he should be fine. That's what I would think. New York, finally. Okay, so they obviously have the 3rd, George Santos, infamous George Santos. It's now Thomas Suozzi's seat. He should have no problem. Anthony Desposito is going down just because he's a great candidate, but it's Biden plus 14.5. Michael Lawler, very interesting race there because it's a Biden plus 10. It'll likely shift to the right, probably because of Jewish voters in their not the internal polling, but general polling, showing Trump improving broadly by large margins among those. It'll probably shift a couple points to the right. Lawler has spent his campaigning to Jews and connecting to them and really labeling the Democrats as a very Palestinian sympathetic party that Jewish voters don't like to see. And he beat the DCCC chair, so he's very impressive. I think, again, he very slightly holds on. Super close race. Pat Ryan should hold on. Marcus Molinaro, it's only Biden plus 4.5. Trump could literally win it, and he'll be the incumbent. So, again, I think he also narrowly holds on. And I think that's all we have for New York. But, again, the 22nd flips, the 3rd flips, and the 4th flips, which is broadly good for Democrats. North Carolina will have one. So the 1st district's super interesting. Because if you look at 538's forecast of the 1st congressional district, well, it's not super great for the Republican Lori Bacouch. She is the more moderate choice, which was, that's better news for Republicans. You definitely want a more moderate choice. But if you look at the model here, she only has a 24% chance of winning. And polling, there's so many undecideds that it's practically irrelevant. And you can see the final forecast expert ratings have it even. Here's the problem for me is, and this race is really close, but Don Davis only won, and now I know he's an incumbent, but he only won by under 2. And that was, Trump had broad trends in 2020 that even when the state shifted left, this state was shifting more to the right. And it's likely to do so again. It is likely to do so again. And Lord Bacouch's more moderate, super tight, but this is like one of the sleeper flips that I'm going to give because just based off the trends there. If Don Davis establishes himself this time, then we'll be more confident. Ohio might have one. Yeah, the 13th. 13th is interesting because, again, Trump could do better there. Who knows? Biden won it by 3. She won it by 5 in a race she wasn't even expected to win against Madison Jessiato Gilbert. And she's the incumbent now. I think she even wins it by lean. I think Amelia Sykes will do fine. Oklahoma won't. Oregon will. The 5th is interesting. Lori Chavez DeRemer beat Jamie McLeod Skinner in 2022 by 2 points. And it's a Biden plus 9 district. She's facing Janelle Bynum, who's less progressive than the Democrat was, and it's just so blue that even though she's a good candidate, I think it's very slightly tilting into Janelle Bynum's column, that race there. Pennsylvania will have some. So the 7th and 8th, both very interesting races. So first of all, Trump can improve in here because of Hispanics. He could win this district. I think he likely will. But she won by 2, and just because she's an incumbent and it's just going to be really close, so you have to give her a slight advantage. The 8th, Cartwright's a great candidate, but he won by 2.4. The problem is Trump won by almost 3, and Kamala Harris has a very bad connection to northeastern Pennsylvania. I think Trump will really accelerate those trends to the point where he does slightly go down, just based off trends. And then Rhode Island will have nothing, or South Carolina, no. It's South Dakota, not Tennessee. Texas, does it have one? It shouldn't, yeah. Utah, Vermont, Virginia, it should have 1. So the 7th. So that's interesting. 7th's a very interesting race just because it's Biden plus 7. Abigail Sandberger won by almost 5, but she's not running. And because of polling, I think it'll shift a couple points to the right, and it's an open race. So I should research this race more, but just based on what I have now, I'm going to tilt it to the Democrats, but it could be very close. Washington, Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez, she obviously shocked the world in 2022. It's a Trump plus 4 district. I don't know how the margin will be this time. And she won by under a point, but here's the thing. Joe Kent is a bad candidate. But we saw in the primary, she only got under 47. And with the combined Republican vote share, which was, I think, a majority, it is going to be hard for her. That was evidence for me that it's going to be hard for her to carry the seat to the point where, with it leading towards Trump, it does seem that she's slightly favored to go down. And that's it. That's my prediction for the United States House. We leave it at 220 seats for the Republicans, 215 seats for the Dems. So the Dems gain off net from what the Republicans won in 2022. The Dems gain 2. Super close race, obviously, because if the Dems flip 3 more, they would end up victorious in this race. But the interesting thing is, it's super tight, and I do think Republicans are slightly advantaged. No, if anybody's saying they have a firm take on this race, they're lying to you. But I will say that just looking at individual districts, this is an insanely close race that Republicans, as 538's forecast displays, as you can see here, or as my prediction displays. Republicans are slightly favored, but this race is dead tight. So anyways, everybody, thank you so much for watching this Election Prediction Institute video, and be sure to check out other EPI videos for more important information. As always, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below and suggest new videos you want me to make, and like and subscribe. EPI out.